Welcome to Tim's TV. I'm calling you from the dungeon. The reason, what we're going to talk about today is North Korea. Should we attack North Korea before they nuke us or after? Now, what we're going to go through in this is kind of the history of how we got here. Now, for those of you who don't know, we are technically at war with North Korea today. We had what was called the North Korean, not the North Korean, but the Korean War back in the 1950s. We eventually came to a ceasefire which divided North and South Korea up, and we never actually signed a declaration of peace. Nobody really won. It was more of a tie. And since 1954 to today, we've been in a ceasefire. Why is that relevant? It's relevant because the North Koreans feel that we're still at war. Legally, they're right, but we actually don't act like we're at war. We've got 30,000 troops there. We've got 3 carriers off the coast right now. But, hey, we've allowed them since the end of the Cold War to develop their own nuclear weapons stockpile. Why is that relevant? They're legally at war with us. That's why that is relevant. Now, Bush the first, that's what I call him, should have used military force if he had to do something about it. But he didn't. He used diplomacy. Clinton, 8 years, diplomacy. Utterly failed. Let's go through what Clinton did. Clinton bribed them. He gave them 2 nuclear reactors. He gave them hundreds of millions of barrels of oil and hundreds of millions of dollars in exchange for them to give up their nuclear program. They took the nuclear reactors, they took the oil, they took the cash, and they still made nuclear weapons. We get Bush the second. Bush the second tried to use multi-nation talks. He tried to bring the Chinese and the Russians and everybody in to bring pressure on North Korea. But one thing he wouldn't use is pressure on China. Let's talk about pressure. You begin to put tariffs on Chinese goods and begin to restrict Chinese economic activity. Basically, you make it so expensive that they have to put North Korea in check. He was unwilling to do that. That's fine. He didn't want to upset the Chinese. We have 68,000 or 6,800 nuclear weapons. The Chinese have a few hundred, but he was scared of upsetting the Chinese. That being said, we are where we are. And then Obama came along. Obama didn't threaten the Chinese at all. He used strategic patience, which basically meant did nothing. Now it's been 25 years. They've tested a hydrogen bomb. They've tested multiple nuclear bombs. They're legally at war with us, and they say they want to make us pay. So, and that now they're beginning to test the intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, that we now believe could reach the continental United States. So let's begin with what would their primary target be. They could hit Hawaii. That would be easy. Take out some naval ships, take out a naval base, kind of the repeat of Pearl Harbor. But we all know how Pearl Harbor ended. Probably wouldn't do that. And also, vaporizing Hawaii would not bring America to its knees. It would start a war, but our economy wouldn't collapse if Hawaii was gone. What could you hit on the West Coast that would most impact the United States with one shot? That one shot would be Silicon Valley. Use Google as ground zero. If you launched and successfully detonated a nuclear device over the Google headquarters or campus, here's what it would look like. Everybody at Google dies. Everybody at Apple down the street dies. The majority of the entrepreneurs in the United States would either be vaporized instantaneously or be exposed to nuclear radiation and basically spend the majority of their lives fighting aggressive forms of cancer, no longer starting American companies and funding entrepreneurship. The American stock market would begin to collapse. The global stock market would begin to collapse. Think Google, Apple, gone. All that energy, all that money, all that brain power, all that wealth in Silicon Valley, gone or exposed to so much radiation that they all get cancer. That would be a home run for the North Koreans. If they consider themselves to still be at war with us and they're looking for a one knockout punch, Silicon Valley is your target. So the question would be, should we use a conventional military strike to take out their nuclear ability, their nuclear facilities, their launch facilities, and their command and control, or should we wait until they attack us? What their primary target would be Silicon Valley. Part 2, we should negotiate with the Chinese on this one. If we have to use military force, the Chinese come in and occupy North Korea. We pre-package a deal. Pre-packaging, as you remember from the financial collapse, is a way to control bankruptcy. So let's pre-package a deal in which we use military force against North Korea. The Chinese come in, North Korea is absorbed as a Chinese province, and problem solved. They accept South Korea, that border stays the same. A few people die, America doesn't get nuked, and the North Korean problem is solved permanently. This also has the intended public pressure on North Korea that, whoa, that's workable. We could be occupied by the Chinese army, become a Chinese province, and then we're really hosed. Maybe we don't want to go down that path. It's intended to scare the living hell out of them. 3, the Democrats and the media need to get off Trump. Russia can be a huge ally in this, but he can't have a meeting, a phone conversation, or any contact at all with Mr. Putin. Otherwise, it's proof that he stole the election. If you want war with Russia, then say it. If the Democrats would like war with Russia, let's bring back the draft. Russia has mandatory service for women and men. We should probably do the same. At least bring up the draft, get ready for war. Why? Because Hillary lost the election. I would like the Democrats to run on that, because at the moment you're talking us into a war with Russia and you're ignoring what's going on in North Korea. So please, we're going to have a vote on this. The poll's going to come out. Do you want to wait until North Korea nukes the United States, or would you rather take out their ability to nuke us first? So preemptive strike versus waiting to get nuked and then do a retaliatory strike. I'm Tim with Tim's TV. Do what's in your country's best interest. Thank you.